RITC Cybersecurity, empowering businesses with robust cybersecurity protection.
This is Ciphered Reality from RITC Cybersecurity, your gateway into the shadowy world of cybersecurity threats. Stay tuned for cybersecurity tips and tricks to protect yourself and your business. I'm Mike Rotunda with my co-host, the dynamic duo Mari Cherry and Nikki Rodriguez. Today we'll cover the latest threats, hacks, and some you may have missed in February as we do our month-end recap. Connect with us at ritcsecurity.com/contact. Let's jump in today's top cybersecurity news. I think we're starting with Nikki because she's got the news, right?
Okay, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
The new scary stuff that you haven't heard of yet.
That's right. Yeah, these stories are about a week or so old, but still important. Yeah. So let's start off with once again, we love Microsoft stories, and this one actually is for the US users. So if you are a Microsoft user in the USA, this one's gonna be for you. This one's entitled Microsoft MFA Down. 504 gate timeout errors disrupting MFA access for US users. And this one's going to come from cybersecuritynews.com. And it starts off by reading, Microsoft is currently investigating a significant service degradation affecting multi-factor authentication, or MFA, across its Microsoft 365 suite, with users in North American region reporting widespread 504 gate timeout errors when attempting to authenticate into MFA protected services. The incident tracked under issue ID MO1237461 began at approximately 8:22 p.m. I don't even know what IST time is. 2:52 p.m. UTC time, whatever that is, on February 23rd, 26. And remains under active investigation. Users attempting to complete MFA challenges are encountering 504 gateway timeout responses, effectively blocking access to Microsoft 365 applications, portals, and any downstream services that rely on MFA as part of their authentication flow. The 504 error indicates that an upstream server, in this case, likely within Microsoft's authentication infrastructure, is failing to respond within the expected time window, causing the gateway layer to return a timeout to the end user.
Yeah.
That affects a lot of us, actually.
I think so. I think IST is International Standard Time. I think they're giving us Greenwich time.
Okay. So whatever time that is.
Yeah, I think it's 8 hours.
February 23rd. That's what we need to know, Bren.
Yep. So, but anyway, yeah, I mean, this is significant. And Microsoft's actually had issues with MFA before. But if you think about the size of the install base of M365, that's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I use some of their stuff.
Right. I was wondering, it says the company's public status page currently shows all services as operational, but the detailed incident details are only available to tenants via the admin center. Is that normal? Is that typical?
Yeah, because it should only affect, I mean, they're only going to be concerned about those that are subscribing, right? That actually have a license.
Okay.
You know, if you're an ancillary user of MFA for M365, then it's not really your concern. You know, they're not really concerned about you.
It's not going to affect them, those users?
No, it's going to affect them, but they don't.
Oh, okay.
But they're not as concerned about making sure that you're up to date on it. They're really more concerned about their subscribers. It comes down to the money, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
okay, cool.
Yeah. It is Microsoft, believe it or not, is a business.
Cool.
That allegedly makes computers stuff. But yeah, so they are yeah, so there's a status page that's up all over the place. Now what's funny is that they're showing the status as green instead of showing that there is a challenge, because if it's out, you should be notified that it's out.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's the unusual part.
Okay. All right.
So my guess is there was a screw up in change management. Somebody put a patch that wasn't supposed to be put in, or something of that nature happened, and that's what knocked out the server, or somebody replaced a route or something in there. There was something that some human configuration failed where they made a change. So,
well, we talk about all the time, human error.
Mm-hmm. But it's also the importance of proper change management process, right? It should have been tested and vetted and made sure that this wouldn't be a problem. Again, we go back to if everybody just listened to me, everything would be fine.
Just listen to Mike.
And I'm reading here, and obviously this happened on the 23rd. It's like, it says, indicating active engagement from engineering team, though no estimated time of resolution has been provided at this stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, who needs it?
I'm sure it's been a few days, so I'm sure they've, patched it and it's good now, but yeah, they couldn't figure it out at the time.
Yeah.
Whoopsies.
Darn it.
This next one is really interesting.
This is our social media one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mari and I did a podcast on social media and kids and parents and kids. So this kind of along similar plane with policies. So if you're a social media user, it's always good to keep yourself up to date with this kind of stuff. So this one is entitled The Ethical Changes of America's Social Media Vetting Policy. And I found this on a random website, actually, computerweekly.com. I haven't really used them before, but it's pretty interesting. On 10 December 2025, the United States government announced that visitors wishing to enter America from any of the 42 visa waiver program countries would have to undergo social media vetting. Visitors would also be required to disclose personal information about close family members. The notice was created by the Department of Homeland Security and the Customs and Border Protection. It was approved by the Office of Management and Budget through an emergency clearance, which was justified due to an unspecified, unanticipated event, in quotations, with the claim that following the normal Paperwork Reduction Act process would result in quotes again, public harm. We have been aware that people's social media was often monitored, but this is the first time that such a policy has been comprehensive and announced. It was going to be applied routinely, whereas before it tended to be evidence-led around particular individuals, says James Baker, Platform Power and Free Expression Program Manager at the Open Rights Group.
So what do you think about government or employers snooping on your social media?
I think it's a necessary evil, unfortunately, because we know that that's how people are getting radicalized through state actors, sadly, and other groups.
Yeah, I was going to say that's been happening, hasn't it? Employees, like employer and employees, they've been doing that.
Yeah, actually, and I wrote about this in the book that I wrote in 2020, was that I personally find reviewing someone's social media repugnant from our employer standpoint. Now, for someone applying to come into the country, I can see that because you want to know everything about who's coming in. That makes sense to me from that perspective. But I don't go. I would never do, and I also don't have social media, so it doesn't really matter. But I don't care. What you're looking for in social media, I'm not sure what they're going to find, although people will literally post anything, if I recall correctly. But yes. I don't really care that you were doing a keg stand at the beach. And, that doesn't tell me whether you're a good employee or a bad employee. Now, if you're doing it during work hours and you call them sick, that would be something. But right. If you're just randomly doing it, again, it depends on what people are putting out there. And, are you going to look at what's on their timeline? How do you know that they put it on their timeline? Did somebody else put it on their timeline? And that kind of stuff. So,
right.
So I don't like the idea of employers doing it. But if someone was applying to have a visa, then I don't have a problem with that because you don't have, the argument that the lawyer makes is that it's, violation of your First Amendment rights. Well, unless you're an American citizen in the United States or if you're someone in the U.S., you don't have the First Amendment. The Constitution does not extend across the world, right? It's here.
Not only that, like, again, so my background is criminal justice, and we had this drilled into us about what First Amendment is. Well, all the amendments. And there's a common misconception, because I've had to take a lot of terrorism classes, that you have unlimited free speech. You don't. It actually is limited. And that's what people don't understand. You can't say whatever you want. There is limited speech. There is speech like hate speech, terrorist threats. It's more limited than what people actually truly understand. And so I think that's where this kind of comes into play a little bit. as well. So that being said, even if you are a resident or you're here legally or whatever, you still are limited to what you can say. You just can't fly off the handle and start making threats or saying certain things because guess what? It's not protected speech.
Yeah. But,
So I don't disagree with it at all.
but bring it, I mean, and then, the lawyer's objections just didn't make sense to me. It was all about, well, employers, it comes from an assumption that people are going to be prejudiced against certain activities. So because of that, you shouldn't look at their social media. And I don't think it's relevant. Again, I'm looking from a job perspective because that's really what we're focused on here is like,
Right.
I don't find it relevant that you need to do that. If you do your background check, you check see what it really is. It's a lazy way of checking references. Right. So it used to be to get a job, you provided 3 or 4 references and they would contact the references. Well, now they're trying to save money, so they don't want to have a hiring manager go contact references. They want to have AI or whatever go look at social media and say, all right, is this a good person or a bad person? And I
It
don't think
mentions that in
Yeah.
this article.
Does it? I didn't get
That
that.
AI is likely to be used. Yeah.
Which that part's hard for me because whoever the user of the I mean, unless it's an AI, because we know this, like if it's an open AI, like a large language model, it's going to learn the thought process of whoever's trained it. Whereas if it's a specifically, made for a job where they have keywords or whatever embedded into it to look for. So I would be interested what type of AI they're using for that.
Yeah,
I don't-
specifically written for that.
I don't think it listed a specific one. It just said that AI likely to be used. And then it said the real threat of AI is not that it will gain super intelligence, but it's going to make surveillance super cheap and easy for government to deploy at scale. Algorithms to survey a lot of social media quite easily, says Baker. Unfortunately, AI does not always provide accurate results.
Correct.
Really? It doesn't?
That's what they said, apparently.
Well, that's what my question is like, are they using an open AI, like a big one, or is this like someone's created one specified to just do this job and look for specific things?
Right. I mean, that would be the ideal scenario, right? If it was specific, but I don't.
That's what I'm interested in at this point.
I don't think they said.
Yeah, and I think what's happening with AI is I think because there's 8 different types of AI. Isn't that what that story is that we read, Mari, that you sent over to me? It's like 8 different or 5 different.
I think it was more than 5. I'm trying to remember that last conference we were at in January. The lady that did that, the one on AI, and I think she had more than 5. And I don't think she had all of them either. So it's a good question. We should find out.
But I think the generic belief by people when you say AI, it's everything from where to get tacos to, rewrite my paper to, write code for me. And in reality, there are those catch-alls out there, but in reality, for business perspective, you really need to have an AI with specific purpose because it needs to be written to that. You need to have a model that's trained to do specific things as opposed to, I'm going to go to DuckDuckGo's AI and go, okay.
Well, that's why I'm like, are they
social media.
That's exactly. I'm like, are they going to have these government workers just on like Grok or whatever they feel like going on to look up this person?
Exactly.
That's not going to work. It needs to be the government needs to have someone write them a specific program. That was my point, to do this if they're even going to do it remotely correctly using AI. Yeah. And I understand it's a lot of, imagine trying to sort through all that social media. I get that. That is, so I think AI could be valuable, definitely, but what type are they using?
Oh, you know what? They do list one. It says an automated rule-based screening platform, Atlas.
Oh yeah, I see it here.
Law enforcement, public safety, or national security threats.
What's this one?
Babel Street Insights is also used to identify what people have said on social media.
Interesting. So they're looking for specific keywords. And you know what? That kind of technology has actually been in place for a long time. And they used to use it right after 9/11 on voicemail and on text messages. Yeah. And so where they would look for, bomb gun, whatever keywords they're particularly looking for.
I remember that.
So,
And then
those of us at RITC Cybersecurity, Ciphered Reality Podcast, do not endorse bombs or guns.
No.
And then there was the whole Snowden incident where he pretty much tattletaled and told everyone like, you guys are being surveyed by your government inappropriately.
Well, so
yeah, I wrote a whole entire paper on him. His story is actually really interesting.
Yeah. From my perspective, when Snowden came out, it was kind of because we were already doing that at the bank that I was working at. We were already surveilling anything anybody ever did. I mean,
yeah,
if you blew your nose at your desk, we probably knew it. Kind of thing. I mean, it's just like, and if it was anything electronic, I mean, the stuff that we would find in people's work email was just ridiculous. It's like, don't set up your party on the work email. Don't, diss your boss on your work email. Don't, it's like, yeah, that's a point for YouTube, by the way,
Oh.
So.
Whoops, better delete that email, Nikki.
I knew it. Me and Mario are in trouble.
I know. Yikes.
But yeah,
now
so
we know.
It's stuff like that. I mean, it's like, but yeah, I mean, it would just be bad stuff, and it would be, but the worst stuff was we'd catch them communicating with someone in their business unit, talking about doing something illegal, and it'd be like, what are you idiots thinking?
Well, maybe they just weren't. Maybe they weren't at all.
Or are you that arrogant and just not understanding of what's going on that, but yeah, it was.
Yeah.
There's a reason users are your number one threat.
Yep. Yep.
So.
Oh man.
I'm laughing down here where it says a little like it says, unfortunately, AI does not always provide accurate results. We know that.
Yeah.
There have been several instances of AI tools. It says hallucinating answers. That's really funny.
Yeah.
I got some interesting term to use for it. And then it goes on to say, this is compounded by there still being a lack of understanding and logic underpinning the decision-making process of AI tools. They are a metaphorical black box. Although AI is getting better at context, it still cannot always understand sarcasm or hyperbole. There have also been incidents of, we did that podcast on it, have been incidents of strong bias against posts in Arabic being flagged for potential terrorist content. That's interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I just thought that was actually pretty interesting.
The bean counters, the CFOs are trying to get around. They're trying to save money. The stockholders are trying to save money. So they think that, my guess is that the accuracy rate is maybe 80%, if not lower.
Even on one that's a trained AI that's like that?
Yeah, because they can't understand sarcasm. They can't understand nuance. They can't understand, for those of us that have a really dry sense of humor, some of the things that I say, it's just, they sound horrible and they're really meant as a joke kind of thing. Where it's like, they don't understand context, voice context. They don't understand, are they reading emojis properly, right? I mean, if you say something that's kind of dumb and then you put the winking emoji at the end, everybody knows it's a joke, right? But is AI going to pick up that? So,
I think it learns that.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. Okay. With each specific user, because also people use emojis differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And so if you're not clearing your history and it's saving your, it's learning you, I think it'll pick that up.
Okay.
And I think too, like in this instance, when them using it for a government task, I doubt that they're, joking around or using sarcasm.
Well,
I would hope not.
If they're scanning social media, though, that's what I'm talking about. So if they're scanning
like reading
media,
what they have like what someone has posted as taking it seriously, or they're joking around. Maybe what it does is it just alerts them to look at it, so that the human being then is forced to like specifically look at that and then decipher themselves.
Probably, hopefully.
Like it probably just like, red flashes like potential threat.
I can tell you from a lot of the government agencies that I've worked with, that's probably not happening. The humans are like, yeah, fine. It said no.
Yeah. It also mentions that there's no mention of data being deleted or stored, to be fair.
Yeah.
But if it is stored, such an information would inevitably become a high value target for hackers.
I'd agree with that.
So
Social engineering, especially.
yeah,
Yeah.
it could cause a problem down the road.
Yeah. I don't know. I, I think it needs to be done. I don't know. I mean, that AI maybe is the best way. Who knows?
I also read an article. I think I sent this to you guys, where there's a concern that for when it makes financial decisions and medical decisions, there's no paper trail,
Right, because they'll destroy and recreate a language, a model, and update the model, and so you have no way of understanding the context. So if I deny, Mari wants to have kidney surgery, and I put all these factors into the AI model, and it says, no, we don't, we're not going to pay for that. We're not going to do that. She doesn't really need it. And then it turns out that she has some kind of major issue with her kidney and has problems. I can't go back and say, well, why did I make this decision? Because the model's already been rewritten. And then all of a sudden you get a lawyer that comes in there and goes, you made this horrible decision. You've hurt my client. How do you prove this? How do you sustain this? And you can say, well, we overrode our AI model, and we don't know. And they're doing the same thing with finance, right? They're denying loans because of whatever this model is, and they can't prove it. So a regulator comes into a financial institution and says, why did you give this loan? Why did you deny this loan? Oh, we don't know.
Yikes.
Well, we talked about that too. Remember the China is using like AI as like physicians for basic stuff. And then that's when I was like, well, what about malpractice? Like, who gets in trouble for that then? Who's held responsible?
Exactly.
So you're saying there's no paper trail in like medical?
Yeah.
Aren't they supposed to keep notes?
Yeah. But they're putting
Like
everything in
separately?
AI. Yeah. They're putting everything in AI that's making their decision, that's weighing all their factors.
Is that not in HIPAA that they have to
No,
have?
it's a complete violation of HIPAA.
Yeah, that's a
Okay, I was like, wait, I thought they had to.
6 years. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we just went through all this.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second,
This is what we do for our clients. Yes.
yeah.
It's 6 years. So that's why I'm like, how is this a thing or not getting red flagged or
Well, that, and if it was a decision made on a child, it has to be kept until they're 21 years old.
yeah.
And like you have read this, you've read about us like.
Yeah, and I sent you the articles on it. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I'll find it after this, but yeah,
What the heck?
Yeah.
How how do people make those decisions and think that it's a good idea?
Because they trust AI. They trust technology. They've been told to trust the experts. And that's probably, one of the things that we also use, it's the dumbing down in society is dependent on these tools, It is becoming disconcerting, the fact that, and they brought that up in the CEO forum yesterday, right? People coming out of school don't know how to think, which is why they're not getting jobs. They're dependent on the tools.
Right.
They don't know how to be self-starters. They don't know how to do their thing. They don't have the critical thinking skills to be effective, right? And then the lady brought up that one example of the kid that was brilliant, that lived at home, didn't have a car, lived with his mom, and wanted her to pick him up to take, it's like, no, you're not going to get a job.
Yeah.
This is it's very real.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that think, when I got my CIS degree, I'm getting handed a 6-figure job. No.
No.
So, that's why I may not be the best person to talk to the new grads on April 9th at ASU, because it may be, all right, you guys are all idiots. And what you need to know is the beginning of wisdom is knowing you know nothing. And until you accept that you know nothing, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Stay humble.
Well, I think one of the guys that was on the panel yesterday, like his degree is like mine and something completely different. And then he ended up learning and going into
Oh, that was the
cybersecurity.
guy that had the accounting degree. I have a degree
Was
in
that,
history.
yeah,
I have a degree in history. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, mine's a little more towards our field, but because I did take some cybersecurity classes and stuff. But yeah, I
well,
mean,
the difference is I had to invent our field.
yeah,
Wasn't
I,
available then.
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it
didn't
wasn't
Back
really
when
a,
exist.
dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Yes,
wasn't really a
exactly.
thing.
Yeah, when
Yeah, I
binary code
mean,
was chipping a 1 or a 0 on a cave wall.
What was it? What did we? The Gyrosaurus? That
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
dear source.
Yeah, Mike saw firsthand what that was.
That's really funny. Yeah, I mean, me and Mari, don't have background in it, and we got into it,
Right.
fortunately, because we were willing to
Luckily.
we're
Yeah.
willing to sit and learn, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
be like, I don't know what I'm doing. You're gonna have to explain this to me.
The
This is
ability to put up with
gibberish.
Mike 40
Yeah.
hours a week will get you a job.
Yeah.
Jump in, sink or swim.
I mean,
But I
I'm
would rather have people like you two. I mean, we kind of veered way off into the ether here, but we never go on tangents on this podcast.
Never.
never.
But I would rather, personally, coming from my perspective, I'd rather have 2 blank slates and teach them how to do this, because I can teach anybody to be a cybersecurity person
Sure.
for the
Right.
most part. What I can't teach are the soft skills that you both have, which is relatability, customer service, those kind of things. The ability to, be earnest, the desire to learn, the desire, to,
Right.
and those. I can't teach that, but if
Right.
you've got that raw clay, I can turn you into a beautiful vase,
Right.
a cybersecurity vase,
Cybersecurity base. That's beautiful.
for lack
Beautiful.
of a better word. I'm feeling really poetic this morning because it's Friday.
Great analogy.
And I only have 9 more hours of meetings today.
I'm dead. All right. Let's do the
Let's
last.
get to the next one.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is the recap of February, and we're
All right.
drifting.
That's right.
Yep.
We'll do just the highlights of the recap, so it's fine.
Yeah. So let's keep going with some AI here because we all love some good large language models. Yeah, here we go. So this one's entitled How Exposed Endpoints Increase Risk Across LLM Infrastructure. And this one came from the Hacker News. This one starts off by saying, as more organizations run their own large language models, they're also deploying more internal services and application program interfaces to support those language models. Modern security risks are being introduced less from the models themselves and more from the infrastructure that serves, connects, and automates the model. Each new LLM endpoint expands the attack surface, often in ways that are easy to overlook during rapid deployment, especially when endpoints are trusted implicitly. When LLM endpoints This is like a tongue twister right now. LLM endpoints accumulate excessive permissions. Oh, God. And long-lived credentials are exposed. They can provide far more access than intended. Organizations must prioritize endpoint privilege management because exposed endpoints have become an increasingly common attack vector for cybercriminals to access the systems, identities, and secrets that power LLM workloads. Yes.
All right.
All right, got it out.
That sounds wonderful.
You always do.
How do we fix this? What do we do?
AI.
Fight AI with AI.
I have a job opening.
All right, this is the last episode. I'll be on. I'll see you guys. Oh,
No.
man.
There are some really good points in there. Publicly accessible APIs, weaker static tokens, the assumption of internal means safe. That's the big one. Temporary test endpoints that become permanent. I have seen that my entire career. And cloud misconfigurations that expose services. The problem, and actually I kind of alluded to this in the first one, change management rules. You're not enforcing your change management rules. You set these things up, and then you have to have controls on them. And if you don't have the proper controls, if you do not have the proper lifecycle management, this is when these risks occur. You're not updating your tokens. You have publicly accessible APIs, which may have been required initially to set everything up, but authentication hasn't been added on.
Is there a way, I have a weird question, kind of like, how we do pen tests for like our like clients and stuff to make sure that, you know, basically where they're hackable or what could go wrong. Is there something like that for large language models that exists?
No. I mean, you can test for APIs and you can test for other things, but there really is a AI type pen testing. Well, I mean, you're going to pen test the system, so you're going to hit the perimeter and you're going to look for things like that, but you're not going to be able to actually do a web app pen test of an AI tool. You can test their authentication mechanism, you can test this, but to test and their APIs and everything that plugs into the thing, but to actually test that code, that's something that they're going to do internally. They're not going to let you have their source code to run.
Would there be a way like for someone then to like later on down the road, you know, build or create something that does that?
The problem
is
the company's not wanting to give their source code up to be analyzed.
Yeah.
So they're going to do that internally. I mean, there are third-party services, and they are ridiculously expensive that will do that kind of work.
Right.
However, AI is another animal. Just like, you know, we've talked about on some of our quantum stuff, quantum error checking on software development does not exist because it's a brand new field that no one quite understands. So.
Good.
I feel safe.
Into the future.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel safe, guys.
Now, I remember when the internet became big and when they started putting robots into automotive machine plants and and the world was going to end. And everybody was going to be unemployed and the robots were going to do anything. Well, that was like 30 years ago, okay? There's still automotive workers. There's still factories. The world hasn't ended. And, you know, yet. So...
He just would have created new jobs because it's people who have to make the robots and know how to fix them.
Right. Evolution.
Right.
So you're getting rid of one thing and creating another. So we've talked about that. It's kind of the same thing.
You know, this is a horribly overused analogy, but when the buggy whip industry died, you know, everybody thought, well, how are we going to get around, you know? Because we developed cars. And no one will be able to afford a car. Well, everybody's got a car, you
know. Something else, static credentials, right? Yeah. You asked how can we fix this? Keep an eye on credentialing. That might be something. It mentions that later in the article.
Yeah, it talks about enforced least privilege access for human and machine users.
Yes.
But static tokens so you have to dig back into, and I don't know what the tokens are using for AI, but you know, Windows has Kerberos, and what it does is you log in, it gives you a token, and while you're logged in, it allows you, the token passes from place to place to place to say yes, this person's approved. When they talk about tokens, that's what this is. So there's a token created by the LLM that allows you to go through and continually maintain access. The problem is those tokens aren't timing out. They're not doing anything. So it's persistence that you have, persistent access. So that's why that's a concern. At least that's my understanding as I read this. So.
Okay.
The other thing is the assumption that internal means safe. I mean.
Well, what about insider threat?
Exactly.
Darn it. Yeah. Nothing's safe. Nothing's safe.
Nobody and nothing is safe.
No.
I like, one of the points in here is the real danger doesn't derive from the LLM being too powerful, rather from the implicit trust placed in the endpoint from the beginning.
Yep.
Once an LLM endpoint is exposed, it can act as a force multiplier. Cyber criminals can use the compromised endpoint for various automated tasks instead of manually exploring the systems. So, you got prompt-driven data exfil, abuse of tool calling permissions, indirect prompt ejection. Those things are just killers.
Yeah.
But we have static credentials as well. And NHIs, that's the problem with the NHIs, the non-human entities that we've talked about a couple times before.
Yeah. Yep. And then it's like, at this point, because all this is so new, there's no accountability for the creators and the people who are running the large language models for having these issues, like we were saying, like it has to be done internally, right? For it to be corrected. So, but I feel like there's no accountability yet for them. And then obviously for these actors, it's really hard to get them. once they've been doing stuff. So who gets held accountable then?
Right.
No accountability right
I
now.
just think AI has been overhyped, and so many people have bought the hype.
Yeah.
Like they haven't taken a breath because it's, was it FOMO, fear of missing out?
Yes.
Fear of missing out on the AI revolution. They've got in headlong into these $1 million projects or $1 billion, whatever it is, and without truly understanding what they need and how they're doing it and what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And so now, because you've made that decision and then you've staked your career on this thing, you're going to make it work regardless of whether it's, a square peg in a round hole.
Right.
So it all comes back to ego and learn some humility.
Yeah. Humans are weird.
Yes, they are. So the other thing is that within HI's secret sprawl, static credentials, excessive permissions, and identity sprawl. Yeah. So.
Very exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right. So with that, unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about on this one.
Nope, we're going to recap.
The recap.
I'm good.
And see if we can depress ourselves further.
Yes.
Cool.
So now
Yay.
we're going to recap February for those of you that
Aren't trying to, put your head in the oven or
after the last discussion.
The rest of them are so exciting. So
Yeah.
such great news. So it's going to go really great. This one, it's like, who's stealing what? Researchers uncover Chrome extensions abusing affiliate links and stealing ChatGPT access. This is from the Hacker News. This is the Amazon ads blocker. It offers the advertise functionality. It also embeds malicious code that scans all Amazon product URL patterns for any affiliate tag without requiring any user interaction and replaces it with 10 times profit -20. In cases where there are no tags, the attacker's tag is appended to each URL, so it doesn't even need one. They just make one. Further analysis has determined that Amazon Ads Blocker is part of a larger cluster of 29 browser add-ons that target several e-commerce platforms like AliExpress, Amazon, Best Buy, Shein, Shopify, and Walmart.
Oh, great.
Yeah, there's a few. I don't know.
I'm like, I use like 90% of those, so
Yeah.
we're good, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So that's... it also says Socket also noted that the extension listing page on the Chrome Web Store makes misleading disclosures claiming that the developers earn a, quote, small portion every time a user makes use of a coupon code to make a purchase.
So what this does is undermine the content pay for a lot of influencers and stuff like that go out there, or for advertisers, because they all have this code that goes. So if I'm, the influencer more than I already am, and I'm pushing, protein powder or whatever.
Yeah.
And you go and use their coupon code or whatever,
It's replacing that, so I'm not getting credit for the sale. Mari is, or Nikki is, or somebody else is.
Right.
So adds up after a while.
Yeah.
So they're thieves.
What?
That's a pretty smart one. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to give him credit for creativity on this one.
It's tricky.
That is really smart.
It's good. Okay.
This one's actually a good news story.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Is 430 mil worth it?
Yeah, right.
Co-creator of dark website Empire Market admits role in 430 million illegal marketplace. It's from townhall.com. I don't know how reputable that is, but whatever. It's okay.
Town Hall is a political website.
A Virginia man who co-created and operated Empire Market, a dark web marketplace that enabled users to anonymously buy and sell illegal goods and services, has pleaded guilty in Chicago to a federal drug conspiracy charge. Great. So, this particular conviction is punishable by a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years in federal prison and maximum of life.
Nice.
I mean, that's a lot of money, but
Yes.
a lifetime is a long time.
Yeah, I'd rather have poor and have a life than be rich in jail.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thanks.
So they just think it's not going to be trackable back to them?
I don't
It was all
know.
dark web stuff, so it was, the theory is that you have a better chance than not if you have the appropriate security in place on the dark web, you're not going to get caught. You got to realize on this marketplace, they traded everything from human beings to weapons to drugs to, what have you. And it was all in Bitcoin. And I mean,
I actually not too long ago, somehow in my algorithm, some guy, what he does is he goes on the dark web and he purchases items that like allegedly people have been like stabbed or killed in. This is a real thing.
wow.
And yes. And so he tests them to see if it's like human blood or whatever. And like it's legitimate stuff and it's really creepy. And he was like talking about like, look how easy it is to acquire these items off the dark web. Untraceable. Yeah, it was actually pretty interesting. Somehow, of course, I made it into my algorithm. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh
so
my
this is
gosh.
very much, I know that is real. And it's creepy because he was showing the stuff that he ordered and what he got. And I was like horrified. I was like, oh my God, this is insane that people have access to literally anything on the dark web. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next one is survey claims 90% of enterprise AI systems could be breached within 90 minutes. Do you remember this one? I think we did this one last episode you were on too. So, okay. This is from Tech Radar. Zscaler found many businesses can be breached in less than 2 hours, and after that could lose their sensitive data in mere minutes. When enterprise AI systems are tested under real adversarial conditions, they break almost immediately. Immediately, the researchers noting how in control scans, they were able to find critical vulnerabilities in under 90 minutes. For the majority of systems tested, 90%, the median time to first critical failure was 16 minutes. And in most extreme cases, the defenses were bypassed in a single second. So that's really great. Yeah.
This is why we now have to write AI policy for our clients. Because people want to use it.
Please be careful. Everyone wants to use it.
Testing and they don't know what they're using or what type of tool they're using. And that's what we were just talking about earlier. Like, is it an open AI model, an LLM? What is it? What kind of AI is it? Is it a fixed kind that's just for one specific task?
Probably not.
So what information are you putting into it? Are you putting PII into it? What is happening here?
Obviously. Why not? Who's going to see it?
This story, is really unsurprising, honestly.
Yeah, unfortunate. But anyway, a single second to 16 minutes. So that's great. Or 90 minutes, I guess.
That's fast. Yeah,
the median time was 16 minutes. That's out of control. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Healthcare breaches double as shadow AI vendor risks proliferate. Yep. Great. Cybersecuritydive.com. This is where this one came from. Fortified's report paints a picture of a healthcare sector that recognizes the risk it faces, but isn't confident in its ability to combat them. That's what you want to hear. Mm-hmm. Or maybe this is the one I was thinking of. We did with you last time.
I think we did this one.
Familiar? Okay.
The healthcare one. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was a really low percentage. It was unfortunate. Okay. On the issue of third-party risk, for example, only 4% of healthcare organizations expressed high confidence in the adequacy of their vendor risk assessments.
We just talked about this yesterday. Yep.
Yeah. Nearly 2/3 said they were somewhat confident, but almost 30% said they weren't confident at all. 30%. And when it comes to incident response, only 6% of organizations said they were very confident that they could quickly identify, contain, and recover from an incident. This is healthcare.
Yep.
6%.
Yeah. And we know that healthcare breaches are on the rise. Mm-hmm. And it's because they're a gold mine of personal identifying information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like for people that don't know, social security numbers, date of birth, first and last name, your address, your phone number, anything that identifies you specifically that makes it easy for someone to get your identity. And
Yep.
basically, that's invaluable.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
invaluable.
And 6%. That's
To
Yeah.
add to that, think about if you are under therapy and they hack your
Psychiatrist or your therapist.
Yep. They can then, there's blackmail that goes on. There's all sorts of stuff that happens.
and the social engineering and manipulation too.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy. There's so many things you can go down, the wormhole and just like it's it affects a lot. Healthcare is like that's the gold mine for people
Yep.
to get into.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is really happy. This is a really happy article. We're really glad to learn this.
Well, the one thing that will hopefully mitigate this, by the way, you did a good job on the other story. I just wanted to see how you guys did.
Is a
and
test
check on the
pass.
kittens. And check on the kittens.
Guess what? We're rehired.
Yes.
Yay.
We're gonna lose our jobs after all.
For today.
The new additions to the HIPAA security rule, where this stuff becomes mandatory, the security becomes mandatory. It's no longer should be addressed. It is you shall do these things.
Yeah.
Should help clean this up, but still the smaller
Hopefully.
doctors' offices and smaller, any independent. Well, even at that, I mean, even spas and things like that
Yes.
that are sitting out there and they're functioning on their own that have never really had they've paid lip service to HIPAA. Oh yeah, we'll look at the administrative stuff.
Sure.
They're going to have a wide awakening and a half.
Yep.
And so hopefully that will cut down on healthcare breaches at some point.
Yeah. So if any of you listening need help with that,
RITC.com.
Let us know.
RITCsecurity.com/contact. Yeah.
yeah, we'll help you. We'd like to help with that.
Yeah. But we're not shamelessly plugging ourselves.
No.
I am. It's fine. I'll admit it. It's okay.
Shameless.
I'll own it.
There you go.
Shameless.
I'll own it for everyone. It's
I'm
fine.
okay with that too.
All right. RMM abuse explodes as hackers ditch malware. This is from darkreading.com. The massive surge in malicious deployment of RMM tools occurred across all industries, with healthcare and technology sectors seeing the largest increases in activity last year. We were just talking about that. Threat actors favor such tools because they are virtually ubiquitous in enterprise environments, and the malicious activity blends in with legitimate RMM usage, making detection harder for security teams, in contrast to conventional malware. So that's good for them. RMM solutions have emerged as hackers' new favorite weapon, offering stealth, persistence, and operational efficiency. RMM abuse has evolved beyond opportunistic usage into deliberate and standardized intrusion strategy.
Yes.
What everyone wants to hear. That's really good.
Yeah, I mean, the question is then, if you see RMM activity in your environment that looks like it's legitimate,
Yet it's not. How do you identify? How do you know the difference?
That's a great question. How do you know the difference?
Yeah. So this
this
is
is all about living off the land, which is the new way of doing things.
and I think there was in there that something like, the use of traditional hacking tools plummeted by 53%. Mm-hmm. And remote access Trojans and malicious scripts dropped by 20% and 11.7% respectively. But, if you think about it, all they need is one compromised ID.
Mm-hmm.
So RMM,
attacks are up by 277%.
Oh my gosh.
which basically gives you access to everything. So,
And you couple that with the healthcare deficiencies,
Yeah.
security deficiencies. Ouch.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's pain.
It's pain. Ow, pain.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Well, just so everybody knows, we're not anti-AI. We
No.
believe AI is a valid tool that can be used, but it has to be
Yes.
used as a tool.
That's the key word. It's a
Yes.
No,
tool.
that's what we were saying in like the story, one of the stories I was doing, like
Yeah.
with the social media thing. If it's a specific tool with a specific purpose, it's great. It can be great.
You want to
Yeah.
use it to augment your abilities, not replace your abilities. But
Yeah.
critical
Yeah.
thinking by humans is still
Right.
mandatory for
Yes.
functioning society and everything else.
Yeah. One thing I've been using it for to get some ideas is I have taken pictures of my yard and been like, how can I do this budget friendly,
Nice.
perennial, whatever? And it'll give me ideas. It'll even recreate a picture so I can see what it looks like. I can be like, I don't like that. Take that out.
No, so I think it needs to be used as supplemental, not as the end all be all. And that's where the issue.
And I think that's a great idea. I mean,
Yep.
instead of you paying an architect hundreds of thousands of dollars to write that and design it so you can take a picture and go, oh, I don't like that. Can you take that out? AI is able to render that. I mean, you still need the architect down the road, but for the initial stuff.
Sure. Yeah, to get ideas. I also had it help me create a build plan for like an outdoor like jungle gym for my kids.
Yeah.
Good idea.
It totally did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really genius. So it's really useful and helpful for a lot of things. And it gave me a lot of ideas to build it so it could be mobile, so I could move it. Eventually, it gave me ideas to keep it sturdy, safe, and portable.
Nice.
So many ideas I didn't even know about. And then, it's really great. And there's zero personal information in there. And it was a lot of fun. It was so much fun.
That's cool, though.
That's good to be used for stuff like that, not to rely on to like for news stories or opinion stuff or whatever. You need to still use critical thinking, obviously, for that.
Right.
Well, not obviously, because some people, that's what they use it for.
My dad teaches master's level classes at a university, and there are so many times he'll get almost the exact same paper, obviously written by AI, in a row. And it's like, you're a master's level student in business.
Doesn't matter. I had a professor, it was my social services and legal class. And he, like a couple weeks into the class, sent out an email saying there's so much AI being used in this class. He's like, I am going to fail the next person that I find is using AI and not using an original thought.
Well, I think that's probably necessary.
And that was a
100%.
senior level class at ASU for social services in the legal system. Yeah. It was that bad.
That's good. Oh, no.
Like, dang.
Oh.
He literally said it was like, pretty much in the email told us it was almost the entire class, except for like a few people. I mean, I know I was one of them that wasn't, because I'm not a big relier of AI. So I was like, dang, that's that bad that pretty much the majority of the class was doing it.
Yeah, that's rough.
Is worrisome. Yeah.
Don't want that. All right.
We don't need lazy humans.
No.
But that's like I've always told, well, at least Mari, I don't know if I've always told you this, but you're going to beat 85% of the humans just by showing up.
Yeah.
And then you're going to outwork the other 10% to get into the 95%. So, I mean, that's really how it works. But just by showing up, you're beating 85% of them.
Yep.
That's not a lot of effort. That bar is low.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
You can fog a mirror and form a sentence.
Oh, that's
and you
sad.
show up for work. Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the last one. This is from darkreading.com. Inside the data on insider threats, what 1,000 real cases reveal about hidden risk. So this guy, I don't think we actually went into this story the last time. I just mentioned it.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I hope they tagged it last time and they tag it again and more people read it, because I thought it was really interesting. All right. So, okay.
And actually, I was like just glancing and reading at it right now.
Yeah. Did something stand out to you?
Well, just the fact that it's executives.
Yeah.
One quarter.
Yeah.
Executives. That's crazy.
Yeah. Senior people, vice presidents, presidents trusted with the access to companies' most valuable data. So he said that's a lot of foxes in the henhouse.
Yep.
It was accurate. Even more unsettling, nearly 20% were high-performing employees who had been promoted, sometimes multiple times. So there's a lot of insider threat. We think...
You got to watch Mari.
Yeah, I know. Keep an eye.
Well, no,
You
it's
never
a
know.
high-performing
You never
employee.
know. Oh. about showing up and keeping my mouth shut. So, all right.
now
All right. I have no argument.
You can move her out officially.
But that bar is set low, so I'm going to take the rest of the day off.
Mari inserts both feet in mouth.
Yep. All right. We think of insider threats as disgruntled underperformers, Robinson says, but some of these folks were rock stars. They had ambition and opportunity, and they used both in the wrong way. Darn it. That's too bad. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
This is crazy. It says his study aims to change that, drawing from open U.S. court records across 84 federal districts. Robinson discovered a surprisingly broad distribution of insider incidents spanning over 75 industries, including IT, finance, manufacturing, government, and healthcare, of course.
Yep. Companies treat it like a dirty secret.
What I thought was interesting is most people thought, oh, once I fire them or they quit, then it's over. And
it's not. There's still, you have persistence issues. You have all sorts of things and
you don't know who they left behind.
You know, and who may be still collaborating with them. And,
Right.
it's like...
Have those offboarding policies and procedures in place.
Yeah.
But remember, we did that story on the Google engineers that stole the processors and sent them to Iran.
Yeah.
But it was one guy that was the primary guy, but then he left and other people were like taking stuff too and getting it to him.
Yeah.
So it's like they thought they got rid of him and then, yeah. So, you need to bust the whole ring.
Yeah. Another example he gave was email and cloud or USB and mobile phones. I've seen cases where someone emailed files, copied them to a flash drive, and then took pictures of the screen for good measure. It's layered, and that makes it exponentially harder to detect. So
I just saw that. That's crazy.
They think they're going to get the USB and they don't realize they have those cameras and then,
yeah, I like his Nemo mindset, not in my organization.
yeah.
Nope. What is trust note? What is it we have at the end of all of our? Oh my gosh, my mind just went blank.
Believe nothing, verify everything, and believe nothing, verify everything, and
trust no one. Yep.
And like I say, I live paranoid.
Yep. Yeah. For real though, you have to, because
I don't trust you.
Happening.
I don't trust I don't trust anyone.
Take
trust my
everything
dog. She could be an agent.
You never know. You just don't know. I mean, she is always around, so that'd be ideal.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
She could have an eidetic memory, and somewhere in her dog bed is a electronic device where she's transmitting.
They chipped her. I don't know what's. Yeah.
Right. What is that? What is that term? The way people remember things in their brain, like some people have they picture things. Yeah, photographic memory, but they'll imagine a picture or they associate with colors or something. My daughter told me when she remembers something, all she sees is words. She sees all the words.
Really?
So I was like, that's interesting. And I didn't have the opportunity to keep talking to her about it. It was like bedtime. And so what did you do before you read though? Before you started reading?
Right.
How did you remember things? Not words.
Like Goodwill Hunting.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah.
Interesting.
What? Brains are wild. Anyway,
I think everybody remembers in different things. I mean, it's just, but that's pretty wild that she remembers in words.
Yeah, I was like,
this is weird.
That's all you see?
For precise conversations, word for word from years ago. And it's really weird. Or I can remember if I learned something one time and I have ADD and ADHD. So for me, my brain, if it's something that interests my brain, it triggers something and I'll just forever remember it. And that's why my friends used to call me the Snapple bottle facts. Back in the day, Snapple used to have random facts. So I'll have random facts. People go, why do you know that? I'm like, I don't know. I read it one time or I heard it. Just my brain. Yeah. You can look it up.
Read it in a book once.
You're right. I'm like, they're like, why do you know that though? I don't know. It sounded interesting to my brain. Sounded relevant for some reason.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I do that too, though. I mean, I remember things about people that I shouldn't, and I remember people that I've met once or twice in my entire life. I remember everything they told me about themselves, and it freaks people the hell out sometimes.
Yeah. Well, my brain's the same way, and then disposes of things that probably should be relevant. I can't remember. So I can't remember dates. That's my downfall. I'm like the guy in the relationship. I can't tell you anniversaries, birthdays. My brain does not find dates relevant, but it finds other like very detailed information very relevant.
That's funny.
I don't know. That's what I use reminders on my phone for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
God for calendars.
Yeah.
I use it too much, probably. That's probably why my memory is awful, because I've always got reminders and things, alarms set to help me.
I do too.
I need to practice that. I need to work on that.
Well,
my
when I
pugs
was back when I first started, I had every IP in my environment memorized, every server name, everything. I could tell you everybody's phone number I knew. I can barely tell you my phone number sometimes. But I can still remember my best friend's phone number from high school.
That's
Crazy.
funny.
So
Oh, that's funny.
All right.
Yeah, on that note.
We ready to wrap this sucker up?
Yeah, we've got 11 o'clock.
all right.
Went through it.
Don't miss next week's episode of Ciphered Reality, where we unravel the stories you can't afford to ignore and deliver a chilling and concerning warning about phishing scams and fake IRS communications, including some jaw-dropping headlines and some cybersecurity twists you may have missed. Join us for info that might just change the way you see the digital world. Be sure to look for our videos on X, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Remember, cybercrime is bad. Love RITC Cybersecurity. Thanks for listening to Ciphered Reality Podcast. Say goodbye to the good folks, Murray and Nikki.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.